So that goes into several questions, follow-up questions that I have from what you're saying, because I'm trying to summarize in my head what you were just talking about, and what I'm getting is the political ideologies seeped into family values and Vietnamese tradition of family values, where people are pitted against each other.
Um, Vietnam has endured that throughout history of its history. The Vietnamese people have a certain set of values that surpass all this division in the past. Like for example, we had 4,000 years history, and within that 4,000 year history, we had been dominated by the Chinese feudal regime, and trying to impose Confucianism into our society. Society originally was a matriarchal society, which organized according to in different villages, and they got together, um, find a problem in common, and then they solve it together, and then they come back to their own village, and the village have survived it of so many years of foreign invasion that every time the central government, which is the king, was defeated by the foreigner and become corrupted, then the people from the grassroots would take over and rebuild that society. And so Vietnam is also at the um, uh, crossroad of many civilization, and also it's a place where it's almost like a crossroads to many paths in geography to many other countries. That's why in our history many civilizations come upon us and try to dominate us. For example, the French and US, and then they finally was defeated, like in the past. And we have to think about the Vietnamese history as our strong point, because Vietnam is now a progressive country, which is non trying to build a society of non-capitalist, non-exploitation, and then the slogan is we want to build a society of people, not of non-exploitation of people by people, so that in that sense it's more cohesive with the Vietnamese culture, and also it's more cohesive with how we build the future. Um, so that a small country like Vietnam, if it was torn again by capitalism system, then it would be like um, poor again. And so if we likewise in this country, a Vietnamese American is torn by politics and do not think about our own interests, then we're torn again and again. For example, for the last 40 years, we're still the poorest among Asian American community in this country.
So during the Roots report back, there was a question similar to this next question that I'm going to ask you, but during the report back, the delegates who went had summarized one of their learnings from interactions with folks over in Vietnam, which is that um, capitalist forces are seeping into Vietnam, and it's really hard to stop that. So the strategy is to utilize capitalism as a means to socialism. So the question is, um, can we really build socialism off of the back of capitalism? This is a question from Kathy Dane. Kathy
Oh,
Dang.
this is a very good question, and a question that bother many people from the time that we got one country back. From the time that we fought the French, we already thought about this. Um, it is not that we cannot avoid capitalism, and we want to show that a new society is good for many people. It's not good for a few, and that is the main point. The main point is we live with capitalist countries in the world, We are trade with them in order to improve the life of people. So you need to be engaged and know the law that govern their uh, their exploitation. We want to avoid that, and that's so that the first thing to do for it's not like we are eliminate capitalism in one day or by one declaration of that we are a socialist country. Socialism means that uh, in this in this society we are using all the advantages and all the means that we know so that we can build a society where we don't have the dictatorship of the property owner. So that the first thing to do is to declare all land and sea and mine belong to the people, managed by the state, as opposed to private property is the dominant force in the society, and then that's the rule of law. That's number one. That means that we do not, by declaring that, we are not eliminating capitalism as yet, but we want to challenge that capitalism within our country, and we use it. We call it a market economy. The market economy in this country is controlled by rule of law. For example, the FCC, instead of saying that the internet belonging to we can leave the internet for the market to control. The FCC said the market the FCC say that the internet should belong to everybody and equally, so that it won't be dominated by one, by a corporation alone. In Vietnam, we do the same thing. We say, okay, we set up the rules so that the market economy will serve the people instead of serving the property owner. And so now there is no property owner, then exploitation, and then we have to restrict the exploitation by saying that we have campaign to lift people out of poverty. So the main job of the society at this point, because of Vietnam came out of the war as a poor country, we have to lift people out of poverty constantly until so that we can have an equal chance to make a life in the new society, and so that the foreigner cannot buy any land in Vietnam, and so that capitalists will not own the majority of the land in Vietnam. So that is the main issue, that we show that a socialist idea controlling by the state as a means of controlling the market is a way that we fight against capitalism. Even though you can see capitalism is trying to prop up and out so many times, but you can see that um, the, uh, the GDP of Vietnam is always above 5%, which is like one of the fastest growing country in the world. So if we let private property owners to take over within our land, like the propaganda of the United States in Vietnam, then the government will be very poor. The people will be very poor, and there is no way to help poor people.
So how do we build socialism off of capitalism?
So stop.